Hey, welcome back to Hockey Talks. I'm Carl, that's Dave. We're going to go through a few things tonight. We're going to go a little bit over the PWHL and their first ever Walter Cup got awarded. We're going to go seeing what the players' reactions are to the noise around the NHL and how they handle the situations. We're going to dive into a little bit of the Memorial Cup and also the Jacob Trouba hit on Evan Rodrigues the other night against the Florida Panthers. But first, Dave, we're going to start off as a recap to the NHL playoffs and what's going on. So far, the series and both sides are tied at two. Very evenly matched teams, as we expected. Florida Panthers
It's
going
it's
back
amazing
to seven
seeing,
games.
yeah, it's amazing seeing Edmonton actually compete against Dallas, isn't it? A lot of people were saying Dallas is just absolutely stacked, and
Yeah,
Edmonton doesn't have
yeah.
a chance. They got a lucky game, out of it, but no, they seem to be there and competing. I mean, McDavid ends up getting like I think it was 3 assists in this last game,
Yeah.
so he's there to compete.
Yeah.
The fact that both series are tied, I think is really really interesting, and there's a lot of back and forth. What are your thoughts? Like, how do you think the players are coping with the fatigue levels, the injuries, the pain, and everything like that of it all?
Well, it's a tough time of the year in the playoffs, right? You're slowly getting tired and more exhausted the farther down you go, right? So they're going to have to start looking at more of their back end guys, the guys that are going to be the fourth liners, the third liners, guys coming off the bench, right? The guys are going to bring in for other people. They're going to switch stuff out to see if they can make something work. As for Edmonton, they have some guys that came in and that haven't really been impacts. Like McLeod, he got taken out the other night and sat in the press box for a game. Put him back into the lineup, and there you go. He scored a goal. It sparked something for the team, right? And Edmonton went on. They're getting contributions from Adam Henrique, who has been out this entire playoffs, right? It's been his
Mhm.
first game back. He scored a goal. Connor Brown has been on fire, which he went, I think it was 60 some games without a point in the regular season. Now all of a sudden he's lighting up. There's a lot of back end contributions coming from the Oilers and as well as the Dallas Stars, right? Jason Robertson also with a hat trick in the game before that in game three, which ultimately led them that comeback in the win, right? But he hadn't scored in the playoffs
Amazing.
since. So we're getting these back end guys, which Robinson really isn't a back end guy, but he's one of the stars on the team. But I mean, at the right time, you get pushes and goals from these guys
Yeah.
that help spark the rest of the team. And I think that's a big contributor in how these guys are pushing forward. And you need that at this time, right? If you don't have that support in a deep team through all four lines, you're going to have a very, very hard time sustaining the momentum and the pressure that you need to get to the cup final. But
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
mean,
absolutely. It's those injuries go a long way, as we were discussing earlier. When those top performers score all their goals in one series, they need to rely on some others, just statistically, right? You can only get
yeah,
so many points per game, and you got to give those big guys a chance to rest up and only hope that your team can survive. And that's what it's all about. It's like imagine running a marathon a day. Eventually, you'll fizzle out and you won't be able to compete anymore. And that's where some of these
yeah.
other guys can come along and help you out.
Yeah, like it can't just be your big stars, right? I
Yeah.
mean, it has to be like Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl. Yeah, they're gonna find it eventually. Well, they're gonna have to if they want to be advancing, right? Because if they don't, they can't just be absent the whole time. Like it's good
Yeah.
that you're getting some scoring from other guys, but they got to show up at some point. And Draisaitl, he did have, I do believe he had a goal last night, which is good to see. I mean, they're starting to
Yeah.
all play as a team, I think, and they're starting to find their groove. But Dallas is a good team. I think they'll have a good bounce back from that 5-2 loss they had on Wednesday. But as for New York and Florida, that it is hard to say whatever's going to happen come out of that series because every single
Right
game
now, just
is won in
remember, right
overtime.
now the advantage is New York Rangers, in my opinion.
Well, yeah, I mean, like they seem like a fast team. I mean, but
But think
Florida
of it
has
this
that
way.
grit.
Don't forget this. When Lafreniere scored his own goal,
Oh
right?
yeah, that
That's
one off
what
the
pretty
skate.
much
Yeah.
counted that first game out. So in
Yeah.
my eyes, the series is 2-2. But at the same time, I mean, game one was kind of a wild. Who knows where it would have gone. So
Yeah, yeah.
put it this way: if you eliminate game one from their win, it's 2-1. So, and I know obviously that sounds kind of weird.
Well,
But
yeah,
what I'm getting
because
at,
they
what I'm
did win
getting at
that
is that you
series.
have to kind of null that game out because
Yeah,
that goal is what prevented them from even coming close,
yeah, yeah, that's
right?
true.
So
Yeah. Yeah, bad bounces, I guess, happen and stuff like that. There's nothing you can do about them. Florida got a lucky break on that.
it was,
Of
yeah, they were
course,
given
but I mean,
a silver platter, you know.
yeah, yeah, but yeah, I mean, New York could have had a chance to take advantage of the other games, and Florida battled their way back in a couple of them, and it's been a bounce back series. They're playing again tonight. Um, so we'll see.
Yeah,
Last I seen it was 0-0 and ended the first, but it's every single game has gone to overtime so far. That's gotta wear on you at some point, right? Having every single game going to one or two overtime. Like you gotta
it
think
should
that's
be and on the goaltending especially, right?
oh the goaltending for sure,
Yeah,
yeah. But the goaltending's been outstanding in this series. Like Bobrovsky and
yeah,
yeah, he's been phenomenal.
he's been yeah fantastic.
Shesterkin too, right? He's been unbelievable, but
Yeah,
it's yeah, it's gonna come down to the wire, I think. I think it's gonna go to game seven. But I mean, yeah, it's hard to say where this series is going to go. Just two very, very close teams
hmm
that have going to battle it out to the end and see who's standing.
hmm
But Evan Rodrigues was not standing after he took an elbow to the head
He was caught
from.
crying on the ice. Yeah.
I don't know. A lot of people say it went off the elbow went off the shoulder and then connected with his head. To me, I think that's what happened as well. Um, Jacob Trouba did get a $5,000 fine, but he did not get suspended, and he only got an elbowing penalty on the play. But before all this happened, there was a delayed penalty call on Jacob Trouba for a tripping call, I do believe. And while it was delayed, he threw that elbow, and they called it elbowing penalty. What everybody was kind of upset about was there was not two separate penalties on that play. So it ended up being a 4-minute power play for Florida, which he got two minor penalties, an elbowing and a tripping penalty, but on the same player. But everybody thinks, or a lot of people think, that it should have been a 5-on-3. Um, I don't think it should have been. I think they probably got the call right because it was on the same player. Just give him two penalties.
Yeah, I mean, if
Like you're gonna
one
throw
player
somebody else
goes
in the
out
box.
there, yeah, I mean, if one player goes out there and gets two penalties in a row, they get two penalties. They serve their time. That's how it
Yeah,
works. You don't just go start throwing other people in the box just because it makes sense to your head in your head. You know
yeah.
what I mean?
I mean, the
It
same
just,
player committed it, right? So,
yeah.
like, what do? You don't. I mean, you just give him both penalties. You don't have to give somebody else a penalty and make it 5-on-3. But they got a 4-minute power play in the end.
Like, yeah, I mean, if someone were to trip a player and then dump the puck out of the ice, get it over the boards, they get a tripping call and a delay of game call, and
Yeah,
they'd serve both those penalties.
I
I mean,
would
it's
imagine
just,
so, right?
yeah, yeah. I mean, I don't know why people would think that right away so you get a 5-on-3. I think maybe the idea of a goaltender doing something and then they throw another player into the
They're throwing
box
it.
might be getting
Well,
into their own head.
yeah, but see,
Or like, oh well, he's already got a penalty, and you made another call. It's like, well, now they should have two at the same time. It's like, well, no.
well, no, no,
He is the one who got caught speeding, and he's the one who blew a stop sign, so he gets two tickets.
well, yeah, that's
You
exactly the way
know?
I think of it too, right? I mean, you can't just, well, I mean, yeah, if the same person committed both things, they're gonna get both penalties, right? That's just the way I think it works.
hmm
Like, you're not gonna punish somebody else for that guy doing something, or the rest of the team. I mean, sometimes it works that way. If your goalie gets a penalty, yeah, sure, one of your guys has to go serve that penalty for him. But
Yeah.
that's different. I mean, I don't think it should have been a 5-on-3 anyways. I think they made the right call on that.
Yeah, not from one player doing it twice, but another thing though that kind of caught me off guard was that I mean, when you watch the replay, this Rodriguez really drives it home. The hit on his shoulder slash
Yeah,
head slash whatever it
yeah.
was.
I think it
It's
did
like,
connect with his ear,
but you
but
don't dive like that. Like you just get
uh,
you get hit. I don't know.
yeah,
I
I
mean,
mean, I could see
I
it. I could see it a
I
bit
know,
too,
and I
right?
know a lot of people would say like, "Oh, you don't know what it's actually like, you know, he probably did this, probably did that." It's like, but the full amount of weight, like the full amount of weight didn't go into his body though. Like the full
Yeah,
mass.
because it definitely
And
did
so his
connect off foot.
body, yeah, it hit him. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
okay. It hit him. Who hasn't been elbowed in their life?
yeah.
Yeah,
But I
sure, they're
mean, like
going
you,
at high speeds, but how you can't put 300 pounds of weight into your elbow to make a guy dive.
yeah, yeah,
He's off, and obviously he got hit. That's
yeah,
great. But why are you diving? Like,
yeah,
where does that come
yeah.
from?
And he came back. He came back. I think pretty quick actually after that happened. I
Yeah,
think he was
because
gone for a
he's
shift.
probably just like, oh, I'm fine. I just wanted to
Yeah,
sell it.
a little bit of a overreaction.
Yeah.
I think so. I
Okay,
mean,
I thought Brad Marchand was out of the playoffs.
yeah, new Brad Marchand coming in.
Yeah, geez, Rodriguez.
Yeah,
Uh,
but yeah, he did get
no,
fined five
but
thousand bucks
you know
for
what
that.
though? If it was an elbow and it was a little fart on the shoulder and it didn't even do anything, he'd
Yeah,
still be getting $5,000 fine
yeah,
and he'd still be getting a penalty because
yeah.
it's not the fact that how hard it hit the like I'm not arguing that. It's not the fact that he tried to hit somebody with an elbow. You just don't do that. You don't do
No,
that.
well, exactly. And he looked like he intentionally
But
threw his elbow.
but
But I mean,
you don't need to dive.
yeah. Also, if they were willing to call it a minor penalty just for elbowing, I don't think that probably shouldn't have got the $5,000 fine either.
Yeah, that was a bit of a weird
If
one. That
if
caught me
they
off
call a
guard.
minor
Uh,
penalty, then it's a minor penalty and it wasn't intentional and it didn't do anything. So why are you fining him $5,000? That doesn't really make sense to me. I mean,
yeah.
sure, he stuck his elbow out, but they made the call. And I don't know if they saw something different, then maybe it should have been addressed a little differently. But I don't
Well,
know. I
I
think,
think there's a lot of problems, and a lot of them are based on consistency in reffing. And
yeah,
so what I often see is if you see one call being made in one game, and then it's not the same in another game, you're often like, well, why was that done? And we
yeah,
just got to remember there's different people making these calls, you
yeah,
know. So where one might call $5,000, maybe it's correct, maybe it's the right thing. Another person probably, wouldn't. They probably just overlook it. Kind of like a cop,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Like
Well, you
a
got to
five
make a
thousand dollar
judgment
ticket for
call.
NHL players like a parking ticket,
Oh yeah,
right?
well,
If you run out to your vehicle because it's parking ticket is like $50, if you run out to your vehicle and you move it before the parking guy can come around, you won't get a ticket. But some of those guys will run their butt off just to get you,
yeah.
right? So
Make sure you
maybe
get
that's
that
the way to
ticket.
look at it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Oh well, yeah, they don't seem too phased about it. Anyways, they were doing the math. Paul Maurice, the head coach of Florida, said just making kind of a light joke about it. He's like everybody pass their hat around, collect the money so he can pay his ticket. He won't be able to put food on the table.
Yeah, right.
$5,000 fine. Uh-oh, it's gonna traumatize him.
Oh, dude, yeah, I'm
Like yeah,
serious. It's
because
like,
they did the math to somebody who's making that kind of money,
yeah.
equivalent to about $65 if
Yeah, so
$65
it is a parking
parking ticket.
ticket.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so that's basically a parking ticket to him.
Yeah.
So yeah, wasn't too keen on looking into it or didn't really care. Just pay it
Yeah.
and move on, right? Get on with
Yeah,
it.
exactly.
Yeah, their only focus is to get to that Stanley Cup.
Yeah.
And they want to win it this year because they were there last year. So they're going to push really hard to win that cup this year. But speaking of winning cups, PWHL, the Professional Women's Hockey League started this year. I do believe it was 6 teams that entered the league. Minnesota and Boston made it to the cup final. They call it the Walter Cup, named after Mark Walter, who
Mm.
mainly funded. He's the guy who funded this whole league, helped fund the entire league to get it going and all that stuff. So that's why it's named Mark Walter Cup, just Walter Cup.
Very
Anyways,
nice. Okay.
Minnesota. Uh, beats Boston in game 5 because the series is go to 5 games instead of 7. So they beat them in game 5, 3-0 to win the first ever Walter Cup.
Did Boston win?
Minnesota. Did I
Oh,
say
Minnesota.
Boston?
Okay.
Yeah, Minnesota won.
Okay.
Minnesota beat Boston 3-0. Yeah,
Wow. Okay.
in the
Well, that's
final.
good for them.
Yeah, hey, you know what's his first
Absolutely.
year? Absolutely. It's
They don't have an NHL team that can win a cup, so.
Minnesota. Yeah, somebody's got to win it for Minnesota. Yeah. No, yeah,
And
it's
you
a
said
good
it was the first one, right? The
first one,
PWHL?
first
Yeah,
year for
okay.
PWHL, and
Wow.
I think it was a huge success. And I think they're going to go off and do it. It's going to be a great, great league. I mean, if you've ever caught a game or watched a game, it's fantastic hockey. Like a very high skilled, energetic. It's great hockey to watch, and I hope this league stays around for a long time. But yeah,
Yeah,
in
I
Minnesota,
remember I seem to remember they had they started doing that with like lacrosse and stuff too. I hear like they had
okay,
a bunch of ladies go on the field, start playing lacrosse. Don't know, I forget
okay,
what league that was though, but
oh yeah, okay,
yeah.
yeah.
Anyways.
Yeah, I think it was a great first year for the PWHL, and I figured we just touch base on that a little bit. Um, as hopefully that league will just continue to grow and grow and grow every year. Um, Memorial Cup, uh, it's off to the semifinals now. Moose Jaw and the Saginaw Spirit are the first games to play in the the semifinals in the Memorial Cup. Um, yeah, they start tomorrow, I do believe, Friday. So it's a one and done series now. You win, you move on to the final, which would be against the London Knights. Um, yeah, it's been close games between those two. They played earlier in the round robin, and Saginaw, sorry, ended up taking it 5-4 in the first game. So I mean, it's been a really, really close tight series, and I think it's going to be some good hockey coming up. So,
That's
but
awesome.
the London Knights have just dominated everybody. So whoever gets past this series is going to have a very, very tough time beating the London Knights because they just seem to be an unbeatable team.
So there's our underdog then. Let's go
Yeah,
Moose Jaw.
let's go Moose Jaw. Yeah. Moose Jaw or Saginaw, which Saginaw is the host of the tournament. So, but yeah, Moose Jaw and Saginaw will start it off tomorrow, Friday, the 31st of May. Um, we want, I wanted to bring up a little bit of kind of like the noise going on in the NHL. You know, the players hear there's a lot of outside noise around and a lot of stuff that media ask these players in the dressing room and stuff like that. The main one kind of wanted to be on Darnell Nurse, Edmonton Oilers defense. He's
Hmm.
been getting a lot of heat for the way he's been playing lately, right? And he hasn't been playing great. He hasn't been. He hasn't been putting any points up. He's had a lot of turnovers, and he's been taking a lot of heat. I mean, a lot of noise saying, "Why is he on the ice? He should be scratched." Like he's the reason why the Edmonton Oilers aren't doing well. They're losing games. And how do you handle that? Like, how do you handle that outside noise? Do you completely ignore it, or I'm assuming you can't completely block it out because you're going to hear it from either family or friends or something, right? But how do you handle that? Do you try to ignore?
Any family and friends that were to bring that up wouldn't be a very good family member or friend.
Yeah,
You know
I
what I
mean
mean?
that. Yeah,
First of
especially during
all.
this time.
But I mean, we might think it's a big deal because it's what we're focusing on. But at the end of the day, I don't really think he hears it.
He tunes it out as
Maybe,
hard as he can.
well, I mean,
And the
think about
media
this for a
brings it up
second.
too when you doing interviews, right? Like
Well,
they asked
think
him
about this
about
for a
it.
second. Like if you're at your job and you're working and you have people around you gossiping, talking about you, if you wanted to, you could stop and try to listen and eavesdrop, you know. But odds are you don't care enough. You're just going to do your
No.
job.
Well, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And now think about that, but think about that for these hockey players. The this is their job. They've been doing this for longer than either of us have had a career. They've been
Hmm.
doing hockey since they were 4.
Yeah.
in most cases, very, very young. So this is their job. They've been doing it for over 20 years.
Oh,
They go to
absolutely. Yeah.
work. They
Yep.
go to work. Some people in news, they never listen to themselves talk, right? And they don't like to. They just like to tune themselves out. And I
Hmm.
imagine hockey players, they just find a way. I mean, maybe the 18, 19-year-old young ones, they have a lot to learn. They care a little bit
Yeah.
more.
Yeah.
But yeah, when you get a little older, yeah, I just don't
You
think
learn
you
to
can. I don't think
tune
you can
in.
survive if you take anything to heart.
Oh,
You
absolutely
know,
not. Yeah.
you'd
Yeah,
you'd
you got to
you'd get
pass
eaten
everything
up.
by, even if you do hear stuff, because like I said, the media brings some stuff up sometimes they probably shouldn't be bringing up.
Yeah.
And with Darnell Nurse, he was asked about why he was struggling so much and the outside noise. They asked him about the outside noise, and he just shook it off, says he doesn't pay attention to the outside noise, and he probably doesn't, right? I mean,
Well, you
which is a
can't.
good thing.
It's
You can't, because if you get in
outside
your own head,
people. Outside people don't know anything.
yeah,
The
exactly.
majority, the majority of people and what people are listening to, they don't know nothing. I
Hmm.
remember when, like, as an example, Toronto Maple Leafs, Austin Matthews, at the beginning of last season, was having a bit of a cold streak. It's like, well, he's not going to be hot every single game. People are freaking out. Do we need to change the score? Blah, 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 blah. Do we need to do this? Do we need to do that? And then later on, Austin Matthews ended up getting a 69 goal season.
Hmm.
So
Yeah, right at
it
the
ended
beginning
up
of the season. Yeah,
working out fine.
yeah. Well, people
People just they
overreact all
make
the
so
time.
much noise. Yeah, they
Yeah,
always just
all the
think that there's a
time.
problem when
Yeah,
everything's fine.
yeah, yeah, yeah. A bunch of overreactors. That's what it
Yeah,
is. Yeah, well,
and we're
that's it.
overreacting to them
We're
overreacting.
overreacting to them. Yeah, we're the guys behind the noise. Yeah, but yeah, that's about all the time I think we have for today. Once again, thanks again for listening to Hockey Talks. We will see you all next week. Have a good night.
Bye.